Hello everyone, it's Professor Sadiq Noor and today I'm gonna demonstrate in this video about advanced report techniques using Microsoft Access, and these are my video series regarding Microsoft Access, and today I'm gonna demonstrate to you how to create advanced report. So the objective of this video is to help you import data to a table, enforce referential integrity in a table relationship, identify the queries as a report record source, use expression builder, create a report using design view, modifying the label in a report, add a text box to the report, check a report design using the print preview, modify the grouping of a report control, update the multi-report control, include sub-report in a report, modify the section property in a report, modify the content and design of a report headers or footer, including calculation in a report, and modifying the report page setup characteristics. So to follow me to complete the assessment in this chapter and in this video, you will need to download three files with which I'm gonna attach it in the video description. So you will need these three files to go through the video. So let's start. So the first thing is that I already have downloaded the three files. So that's the main file here, the access file that we need to work on it. And then these are the supporting files, right? So the first thing I will do, I will open the file SCAC06-1. Open it. Now we have to go to File, Save As, and then we have to save the database as, and then I will save it under my folder, and then I will call it Partners. So I have partners, so I will put Partners. So in your case, you will have to call it Partners. Now, once you have saved the database, the next thing is that you have to enable, because you have a security warning. So you have to click on Enable Content. Now, we have to import two files, and we have to use it as a table, right? Either we can create those manually, but we already have it, so I will import it. To import, you will click on the external data. You will go to a new source under the import and link group. So as you know that Microsoft consists of tabs. These are your tabs, all right? And then below the tab is the ribbon, and then the ribbon consists of group, and the group has names, right? This window here is your all access object window. All your access object will be listed in the left-hand side navigation pane, all right? So we will go to new source, new data source from a file, and then we will click on text file. Now, when you click this, it's gonna ask you what is the external data that you want to import. So you will click browse, and then I saved it under the desktop, modules, and these are the two files. So I will click on the Excel one, which is the workshop enrollment. I will click open, and then you have to leave the option that says import the source data in a new table in the current database. Click OK. Then here you have to say next. Now be sure that you choose the first row contain the column, the field, right? If you don't do that, then it's gonna be used as a record. So you need the first row to be your column, your field. So hit next, then hit next. Then you will see here it says Microsoft recommend that you define the primary key. So in this case, your primary key will be the buyer ID. So you will say choose my own, which is automatically selected the buyer ID. So hit next, and then we're gonna call this workshop enrollments, and then hit finish. And then just close it. So the workshop enrollment has been added. So we need to go back to import the second one from a text file, browse. We will pick up the support, click open. Now click OK, click next. Be sure you choose the first row contain the field names. Then next, next. Then here you will choose the second option, which is choose my own primary key. Next, and then we need to change this one to a workshop. Then close. So the two tables is being added. So if you open it, it has this information there, and then the workshop enrollment has this information there. So the next thing is we have to open the workshop in the design view, because we have to see if we have the primary keys attached to the column, to the field. So I will close this, and then I will open the workshop, right click, design view, and then, so this is perfect. Now the next one, we will check the workshop enrollment, right click, design view. Now we need to have two primary keys in here, right? So the buyer ID and the workshop code field together identify as a primary key. So you have to hold the shift key and select both the buyer ID and the workshop code, and then click on the primary key from the ribbon, the tools group, and then primary key. Then close, save the changes. Perfect. Now the next is we have to relate the new tables. We have to create a relationship. So the new tables needs to be related to the existing tables in the partners database, right? So to do that, we will go to the external, we will go to the tab database tools, and then we're gonna click on relationship. Now everything is being done here. So what we need is we need to add the two table. So we have to go and click on add tables. So in this case, we're gonna add the buyers, double click it. We are looking for the workshop enrollment, double click it. And we are looking for the workshop, right? Then you can close the two tables, the add table, window or pane. Now in this case, what we need to do is we have to drag the buyer ID, which has a key with it, right, to the uh, workshop, right? So to do that, we have to do this. So we have to drag the buyer ID field into the table, buyer table, to the buyer ID. So we need this over this one here on the closing. And then you have to choose the enforce integrity. We have to click the enforce referential integrity box, and then we have to click on create. So one is done. Now we need to drag this one, the buyer ID, over the workshop enrollment buyer ID. And then we will choose enforce referential integrity and create. Now the last one we're gonna do is the workshop code from the table workshop over the workshop in the workshop enrollment. So that's how we create the relationship between the tables. So everything look perfect. So now we need to close it, save the changes to the relationships. So everything is being saved. Now we have to create a report in a design. Before that, we have to create a query for the report, right? So we have to go to create, and then we have to go to the design query, and then we have to click the table buyers, and then hold the control key, select the closing table, closing, and then still hold the control key and click on the properties, all right? And then release your finger from the control key and click on add selected table. So simultaneously, all these three tables will be added together, right? So already been linked together. They already have the relationship. So from here in the buyer table, we need to double click to add. So you can stretch it here. You can close the add table. Now we need to double click from the buyer table. We need to double click the buyer ID to add to the grid. Buyer name, double click it. Buyer attorney, scroll down. And now in the closing table, we need to double click the closing date. And then in the property table, we need to double click the property street, property city, double click it, property state, double click it, and we need the property jurisdiction. Scroll, property jurisdiction. You can increase the table like this, double click it. Next is that we need to sort in ascending order on the closing date field. That's the closing. So go down in the row that says sort, and then we need ascending. Now we need to run the query to view the results. So that's the run here. Be sure that you are in the design, query design, and then run. Click the run. We get everything. Perfect. Now the next one we need is we need to save this query because as you see here in the tab, it says query one. So we're gonna click on the quick access toolbar, the floppy to save it. It's gonna give you the dialog box here, which name you wanna give it. So we're gonna call it buyers and account information, information, buyers and account information, and then click OK. So the query has been added, buyers and account information. We can close the data sheet view of the query. Now next is to create an additional query for report using expression builder, right? So to do that, we need to go back to the query, create, query design, right? So now in the query design, we have to click the buyer, right? So in my case, when I said query design, it opens with the add table. So if you don't see the add table, you can add it from here, add tables, right? So we need to click, we have to hold the control key and select the buyer table. First click the buyer, then hold the control key. And then we need to select the workshop enrollment. And then we need to select the workshop, all right? And then we have to click on add the selected tables. So all is being related to each other, all right? As you see, all they are related with the relationship. So you can close the add table. So from here, what we are looking in the buyer table, we need to have the buyer ID, double click it, buyer name, double click it. We are looking now in the workshop enrollment. We want to double click the workshop code, and then in the workshop table, the third one, we need to double click the workshop description, and then we are looking for the cost. Right now we need to go back to the workshop enrollments, and we have to double click the total hours, and also we need to double click on the hour spent. All right, so these are the field or the column being added to the grid, the design grid. Now we have to go to the empty here, the empty column, and then you have to do right click. When you see the shortcut menu, click on build. That's the build expression. So click on build. It's gonna open the expression builder. So here is where you have to create the formula. So next, then you will expand the database, the partners, hit the plus sign, and then you will expand the tables. And we're gonna select the table which is the workshop enrollment. When you click the table, if you see in the middle box, it's showing you all the columns. That's part of the workshop enrollment table, right? From this, from here, we need to double click on the total hours. So double click the total hours minus, and then we need to double click on the hour spent. So double click it. So that's the formula has been created. And then you need to click OK. Now, the next thing that we need is we need to change the caption. If we don't change the caption, it's going to be expression one. So to do that, you need to go to the show and hide, click on property sheet, the property sheet, then click on the caption, and then we're gonna call this one as hours, hours remaining, hour remaining, right? Now the next is we need to close the property sheet, and then we're gonna run the query. Now we can stretch to adjust the columns. If you see your column is cutting off, so you can go to the middle of the column and double click when you see the split arrow. Perfect. Now we need to save it. So go to the top where is the quick access toolbar, click on the floppy, and then we have to give a name to this query as workshop space enrollments and workshops. And then click OK. So now we have workshop, enrollment, and workshop, right? See, these are the two queries that we created. Now we need to create an initial report in a design view, right? So to do that, we need also to select the record source. So to do that, we have to go back to create tab, and then we have to go to the report, the group on the ribbon, report, and then we have to click on report design, report design, report design. When you click the report design, so the next thing we are looking here is we need or we have to ensure that the selector for the entire report is being clicked, which is in the upper left corner of the report, contains a black square which indicates the report is selected. So this is the one here I'm talking about, the black square. So when you click that, that means the whole report has been selected. Then the next thing we need is that we need the property sheet. Click on it. And then be sure that you are in the all, the last tab all. And then we need now in under the record source, right? What we need is we need to go to the record source. So go to the a little bit to the top, the record source, click on the drop down, and then we need to select the record source from buyers and account information, the second one. Buyers and account, that's the query that we created earlier. So that will be our record source. The source is going to be coming from the buyers and account information, right? And then the next is we need to group and sort. We need to add the group and sort, right? In the design view of a report, you can specify both grouping and sort by using the group and sort button on the report design tab, right? So to do that, under the group and total, you see here is a group and sort, click on it. It's gonna add in the bottom the add group and add sort buttons. So in this case, we have to click on add group, and then we wanna add the buyer ID as the group. As you see, Microsoft Access add a new section as buyer ID header. Next, now we wanna sort, so click on the add sort, and then we wanna sort by the closing date. Perfect. Now we need to save the report. As you see, say report one. So click the floppy and we're gonna name it buyers and account information summary, summary, summary list. Click OK. So now we have a name in here. Now the next is we have to add field or the column to the report in a design view. Once we have determined the field that are necessary for the report, we need to add them to the report design. So to do that, I will close the property sheet and we're gonna click on add existing field. So in this case, you already have seen because these field are coming from the record source that you set in the previous step. You selected the whole report and then you said your record source is going to be the buyer and account information query, right? Now, in this case, what we need is we have to drag the buyer ID under the buyer ID header. You can move it like this. Then next we need the buyer name. You can drag it. You can then move it up to adjust. Now the next we are looking for the attorney. Buyer attorney is going to be under the details section. All right. So before we do that, we can move this a little bit down here. We can bring the street, property street here. Then the next one I'm looking at the attorney. You will have to drag it like if you want to move both, you will have to select the four arrows and then you can drag it. If you want to move individual the control or the labels, you will have to move your cursor over the gray square and then you can hold it and you can drag it like this. See? See? So in this case, we want both of them, so we will drag this. Perfect. Now the next one, we need the closing date. We can stretch the mat and then we can move this guy here. The next we are looking for the property jurisdiction. And then you can move this here to be aligned with the other guy. Perfect. Now we need to add a text box, right? We need to add a text box where we gonna concatenate, or we wanna combine two or more text data item into a single expression, right? So we wanna combine two or more data text data item in a single expression. So to do that, we're gonna go to the controls in the ribbon and select the AB, which is the text box, and then we're gonna draw like a box. And always remember, we have three kinds of controls. So bound is the one that comes when you created the report. So this one is bound. This one is unbound. You just add it, right? And then you will click on the control or the text box, and then you will start with equal a square bracket. You will type property space cd, then close the square bracket, then space the ampersand or the and then the single comma, the apostrophe, and then the ampersand again, space, then open a new print square bracket, property state. So we are joining two columns in this box. So I will stretch it. All right. Now we have to save the report. Click on the floppy to save it. Now the next thing we need to do is that we need also to change here. So we need to double click the label, and then we have to put the whole thing as buyer ID number. All right. So we change it from BID to buyer ID number. And then we need to change the label for the new text box. So you can double click it. And then we're gonna say property location. If you think that it's too much close to each other, then hold the square, the gray, to move only the text box. Perfect. Now we have to save. Next is to view the report in a print preview. As you are working on the report in a design view, it is useful to periodically view the report to gauge how it will look before we continue, right? So let's go and view it. You will click here, report. So far, that's what we have done. So let's go back to the design. So the next thing we need now to format the controls. When you add control to a report, you often need to format the control. For example, to add a bold or alignment format. So to do that, we will select the closing date, right? And then from the property sheet, what we want to do now, as you see, is the closing date is being selected. And then The next is we have to click on the text align property. So look for text align. Text align is here. This is the text align here. All right. And be sure that you choose all so you can see all the commands under the property sheet, which was under the group tools in the ribbon and this one here. So next we have to go to the alignment. Click. You will see a small drop down. Then from here, we have to select center, center, and then we have to close the property sheet pane, and then you can preview the report. So you can go here, print preview the report. Then you can close it, right? Or you can go close here, save. Now, what we need is to group the control. Why do we need to group the control? If your report contains a collection of controls that you will frequently want to format in the same way, you can simplify the process of selecting all the controls by grouping them. So what we need to do in this case, I will open the report again. So I will do right click and design. All right. So what we need in this case, so we have to hold the shift key and we have to click all the other control, not the label. Okay, so you have to click, hold the shift key and click only the text boxes. Right? And then we will go to the arrange tab and then we will go to size under the sizing and ordering. And then we will click on the group. So we grouped it. Now we have to click to deselect the group. All right. Now to modify the group control. So to modify the group control, click any control in the group to select the entire group. So I will click, see, all has been selected. All right. Not the labels, the controls. Now we can also make them boldface. So we will go to format and then we will make these guys boldface as you see. And then if you want, you can stretch it. And then you can move the label. And then if you think this, you will move it a little bit. So the next thing we did that. Now we need to get to the property sheet. So click here and then we have to go back to the report design property sheet and then be sure all is selected under the property sheet pane. And then we have to be sure that the border style it should be solid. So it's already solid, perfect. Now we need to click the border width. The border width is hairline, so we need to change it to 1 point. 1 point. All right. Now we need to see here. And then we need the font size. The font size is 11. We will change it to 10. 10. Now we need to close the property sheet and then we have to save. Now we need to modify multiple controls that are not grouped, right? So we want to make text formatting makes it easier to visually group the piece of information in a report. So we need to click the labels now. Then we have to hold the shift key, click only the labels. Now we need to go to the format tab. We need to click italic. And then we need to click, you can boldface, right? So it's up to you. If you don't, you can just click on it. Now the next thing you can also adjust here. You can click here to select the sections. So the next one, if you want to select all together, so select, see, I selected the ruler, all is being selected, and then we will hit boldface. So all been selected, all will become boldface. And then we can go now back to the report, view, we can view the report so far. Now the next thing we need is that to add a sub-report, right? So we can go back, design, and you can also move these a little bit here, this here, then we can stretch this. Now because it's been grouped, so I will select this. I will go to arrange, and then I will do ungroup. Now I will make this individually. Now next, And then I will have to adjust this one too. Now I have to select this, hold the shift key, and then we can go back and then group it. Now, if you click one of them, everything will be selected. So the next thing we need is to add the sub-report. So we're gonna go to report design, then we're gonna go to controls, and then we're gonna select this one here, and then you have to draw like a box. Now it says using existing tables, hit next, and then we're gonna select, we will go drop down, click the drop down, and we're gonna use the query, which is workshop. So scroll all the way down. Workshop, enrollments, and workshop. And then we need everything. So click the two greater sign, then hit next, then next. Now the name is gonna be workshop enrollments by buyer ID. And then there is no more next, so click finish. It's been added. So we need to move that here, down, all the square gray. Now the next one, we have to save the report, and then we have to close. If you want, you can see the report, view it. So far that what you have created. So close. Now we need to open the sub-report in a design view. The sub-report appears as a separate report in the navigation pane. You can modify it just as you modify any other report. So look in your report. This is the one here. So we will right click. We can go to design view. And then what we want to do here is we have to adjust. So we need to delete the BID buyer. We don't want it. We don't want the buyer name. We don't want the buyer. So the workshop code, you will move it. And then you will go to the middle here. And then you will press the shift and enter key to wrap it down. And then hit delete and then enter. Then we need to drag this. And then we don't need the code. So select and delete from your keyboard. So we're gonna drag this here. All right. And then we can shrink the code. Description, you have to drag it underneath the label workshop description. Then the hour, I will drag it and then I will stretch it. Then I will go down in the middle I will hold the shift and enter key together. We wrapped it down. All right. Now this one, I will first stretch it. Then I will go in the middle, shift and enter to wrap it down. And then I will drag it. If you want to stretch it, hold the orange. Now this one, the remaining, we need that to be hours and the remaining. Shift and enter, press it together. And then I will drag it. We need the total box. I will stretch it a little bit. Then we need the hour span, drag it and stretch it. And then we need the remaining hours. Perfect. Now to change the can grow property. So the third suggestion approach handling the entries are that are too long is the easiest way is to use also to produce a very readable report. So the following step I'm going to show you how can you grow the property for the workshop description. So for example, if we view this report, so if there is something is cutting off, will automatically be wrapped. It's going to be wrapped down. So now this one I have to move it here. This I have to adjust the setting. So you can also go to the report preview, select and drag it. Perfect. You can go here and you can drag it. Because in the design, you are not sure like where to put it. So here in the layout, you know what you're dealing with. All right. So we can go back and then we're gonna go to view, design. Now we're gonna select the description, right? And then we're gonna go to the report design, property sheet, and look for the option that says can grow. Is here, can grow. And by default it's no, make it yes. Then close the property. Now this one, you can move it, right? Report, view, design. Now the next is to change the appearance of the control in the sub-report, right? So to do that, what we need is we need to click on the report header, right? And then report, design, and then we need to go to format and then the bucket, and then we need to select the color we need is like a white, right? And then you can select the whole thing from the vertical ruler. You can boldface as you see. Now, if you think that something is moving up or down, you can just drag it down. Perfect. So everything look perfect. We change the background to white. Now to resize the sub-report and report in the design view. So the following step, I'm going to show you how to resize the sub-report control in the main report so that the control for the sub will appropriately fit the data that will appear later display in this area. So what we're going to do, we're going to close this, save the changes. Now we're going to open the buyer, right click on it, and then let's go to design view. And then if you want to close the group and sort, you can just hit X here. Now, what we need is you can click it, all right? And then you can adjust the way you want it. You can also use the scroll bar to move. So in this case, you can just move this a little bit like this. You don't want this big gap, all right? That's perfect. Now to modify the next thing we need, if we go up and then we we are good. So you can adjust this. Now the next to modify the section property. So the following step I'm going to show you to make two modifications to the buyer ID header section. The first modification which caused the content of the group header section to appear at the top of each page. Change the repeat section property to yes. So without this change, the buyer ID and the name will only appear at the beginning of each buyer's account information. So to do that, we will select the buyer, click on the bar where is a buyer ID header, and then let's go to the property sheet and then look for after we click the buyer header bar. Now be sure to select all, and then we have to click the repeat section, and then we have to click on yes. To cause the content of the group header to appear at the top of each page of the report. Now we need to click force new page, force new page, and then we have to select display. We have to select the option that is before selection, to cause the new group to begin at the top of the next page. Now close the property sheet. Now we need to add the title and page number and the date. You can add title, page number, and date to the report using the tools on the design tab. So to do that, we will go now here. All right. We will click on the title and then we will click page number and then we want the page number to be aligned to the left, top of the page, and then click OK. And then the next thing is the date under the headers of footer section here. And then we want to include only this kind of date, the formation. And then we don't want to have the time. Click on include. We don't want to include. So the date has been added. All right. So as you see, the date control has been added. So this is the date. All right. So you're gonna shrink it down. And then you can make this one. You can stretch it. Now what we want to do is we want to move the date to be to the page headers instead of being in the report header. So we need to cut Control X and select the page header. You can go to back to the home and paste. And now you need to drag it. Perfect. So we dragged the date control, which is currently setting on the top of the page number control to the position in the right hand side. Now we need to remove the header background color and the alternative colors. So the report header currently has a blue background, which is not what partner paralegals wants. So in addition, the report has alternative colors. So the alternative is a color different from the main color that appears on every other line in the data sheet or the report. So we have to right click the report header. So select first and then do right click on it to get the shortcut menu and then go to the fill color and then we have to select white. All right. Now we have to right click on the detail, right click, and then we need to select, and then we have to select, and then this is the currently used. So we need, let me do it again, right click. We need to right click the blank area of the details section like here. And then we have to go fill, sorry, the alternative fill back color. And then we have to make it none. None. Now we have to save the report. All right. Now we need to open the sub-report in a design view. So to do that, we have to click on right click on design. So first we have to open the in the from the report, which is the sub control. So first I can close this. Right click, right, and then from here we can select sub report in a view window, in a new window. If you want to, you can select it, right? So for example, let's open the master report. Right click, it was designed view like this. Then you will select this, and then I was trying to, if I can open it in a, it's not because this master one is open. So you can do just right click, right? Now we need to close this and open the report bias. So far, that's what you have created. Perfect. Now we need to create the second report. So let's go to create, and then we have to click on report design, and then we need to be sure that we select the square, black square, to select the report, which is the upper left corner of the report, which contains the black square indicating it is selected. Now be sure to get the property sheet, and then be sure that you select all, and then in the record source you have to scroll up, record source, click the drop down, and then we need to select workshop enrollment and workshop as our record source. We need to close the property. Now we need to click the group and sort, and then from the add group, click on the add group, and we need to select buyer ID. When you edit the group, a header will appear above each group ID. However, you also need a group footer. Now group, on the group of the, on the group, on the buyer ID row, right here. So we need to click more, and then we need to click without, without the footer option, and then we need to click on with the footer section. So that will add the footer also. You see that here, buyer ID footer. Now we need to click on add sort, and then we need to click on workshop code. Then we can remove the group and sort here. And then we're gonna save the report. Click the floppy from the quick access toolbar, and we're gonna call this discount report and click OK. Now we need to add and move the field in the report as we did previously. So first we need to click on add existing field from the tools under the report design, and then I will scroll up. We need to grab the buyer ID here. All right. So what we need is we need to cut the label. So go to home and cut and select the page header and paste. All right. So we need to change the label here. It's gonna say buyer buyer ID space number. All right. And then you will go to the ID and then shift and int and delete. And then we're gonna drag the buyer ID underneath the label. Perfect. Now we need to add the remaining field. So we need to select the buyer name, then hold the shift key and select the cost. Now we need to drag all these guys here. Now we need to cut the buyer. So go to the home, cut, go to the page header, paste, and then you need to move it away. All right. And then we need the buyer name to be under the buyer ID header. So cut, click the buyer ID and paste, and then move the control underneath the label buyer name. All right. Then we need the workshop code. So first cut the label, select the page header and paste, and move it away with the 4 black arrow. Perfect. Now select the control, cut, and then we wanna paste. So we don't wanna cut it. Control and Z. And this guy will be here under the detail. Right? We need the description. Cut the label and put it under the page header and paste. Select and then paste. We wanna write it down. Shift and enter and then delete. So we wrapped it down and then we want this to be here. Next is the cost. Select the level, cut it, select here, and select the page header bar and then paste. Now drag the cost. And then we need to move this. Perfect. Now we need to lower the detail bar. So we will move and drag it up. All right. Next is now to add the total and subtotals. So what we're gonna do, we need to stretch the buyer ID footer a little bit. This. So you need to hold the button when you see the black arrow, then hold the left key of your mouse, drag it up or down. Now we need the text box. So go to the report design, controls, and then you need the AB, which is the text box. Click on it, and we need to draw a box in here. All right. And then we will click the textbook control, and then we're gonna tap the formula equal sum, parentheses, then the square. You wanna sum what the cost, it should be as it is. If it's capital, then capital, if it's small, it's small, right? So obviously you're gonna do equal sum. You will open a parenthesis, then the square. You will tap the column that you want to sum cost. Right? That's what I put here. Now the next thing we want to do, we want to call the label, double click, and then this will be subtotal, subtotal. So we want to move this underneath the cost, and then I can move this guy here. subtotal. Perfect. Now, the next thing we want to do, we need to add another box, another text box. And then we're gonna use the if condition, right? So what we're gonna do, you see here the control source, we could type here, so equal if, then open a parenthesis, then the square, if the subtotals, close the square bracket, greater 300, comma, then open the square bracket, subtotal, subtotal, close the square, multiply by 0.2, otherwise 0, and close the parenthesis. Right? So that's the command here under the control source. Now I will stretch it so you're gonna see what I typed, and then I will make it smaller. So obviously what I did was I said equal if if the subtotal is greater 300, comma, comma, then open a square again and type the subtotal again. Multiplied by 0.2, then comma, otherwise 0 if it's not greater 3, and then close the parenthesis. All right. Now I will shrink the box down, and then this one, the label, double click it, and then we will call this one as discount. Discount. And then we're gonna drag the discount underneath the sub Perfect. Now let's go to the view layout to see. So if you see something like that, that means the if condition has an error. So let's check it again. So in this case, I have to go back and check what has been messed up in the if. So actually it's two eyes. It's not one eye, two eye. If now let's check it. View. So the subtotal also have an issue. Subtotal. So here we said subtotals, not totals, total. Take off the S. So it's not, I put an extra S there. So it's subtotal, not S. Greater 3000, comma, open a square, and then capital S subtotal, multiply by 0.2, comma, 0, and then close. Now I shouldn't have a problem. Now the subtotal again. So what I will do, I will just take it off and do it again. Equal if is 2if, open a square bracket, parenthesis, then square, then you're gonna type subtotal close the square, greater 300, comma, open the square bracket, subtotal, close the square, multiply 0.2, comma, 0, and close the parentheses, and then press the enter key. Now let me check again. So the subtotal is an issue. So let me go here and let's see. We have to give a name. It looks like the name is missing. So obviously this box should be named. That's why I have a problem with the subtotal. Sorry for that. So when you created the text box, this box, you have to name it as subtotal, right? Because you are gonna be using it in the discount formula, right? So this one also we need to name the box. Instead of text box, text 7, you will highlight it and then you will tap discount. So just I missed that step, discount. Now this box name is subtotal. Perfect. Subtotal. Now I should be good to go. Now let's view. It's working now. Perfect. So the only problem I had was I did not named the text box the control to what they ask. So obviously, what you need to do when you put this box in your property sheet, be sure that you select the text box and then name it as subtotal. And then when you go to this one, name it as discount. All right. Not the label name, the name, this one here. So that's why I was having that error because I was supposed to name it here. Before it was labeled 6 something. So you were supposed to give the subtotal for this box here. All right, in your property sheet. So the next thing we need is to use expression builder to add calculation. Now in this report, also we need the partner requirement for this report also involves showing the cost subtotal less the discount amount. So for this purpose, we have to use the expression builder is a convenient way to include the calculation. So what we need to stretch this box, the bar a little bit down, grab the text box from the control, and we need to draw a box here. You can stretch a little more. So what you need to do now is that we need to select the unbound and you see the control source. Let me stretch it. Control source, you will see the three dots all the way to the right. Click on it. It's gonna open the expression builder. So then what we need, you will say equal, equal, and then be sure that you select all, right? So then equal. Now click the discount report. Now we need to scroll to the subtotal, and double click it to add the subtotal. And then we need to put minus, and then we have to scroll to find the discount. Discount, that's the text boxes that you added earlier. And then because you have given a name, that's why it's visible here now. So double click the discount. Perfect. And then we will click OK. That closes the. Now we need to click the label and then we need to delete using the delete keyboard. So obviously we shouldn't be, so Control and Z. So double click and highlight the label and change it to cost after discount. All right, now let's view your report. Now also we have to give them the dollar amount. So go back, select, hold the shift key and click on the controls. In the property sheet, you see the format here. Click the drop down and look for dollar, which is the currency. So the format we need currency. Let's view it now. We have the dollar amount now. Perfect. Now we need to save and we need to go back to the design. We need to add a header and footer to the discount report. All right. Report title are typically placed in the report header. You can also place in the footer section one or more calculation field that calculate the total for the control from the entire report. So in this assignment, we want the report to include a total for all the workshop costs. So what we need is we need to select the page header and do right click on it. And then you will see here it says a report headers and footer. So click on it. And as you see, the report header has been added. So what we need actually, we need to copy the subtotal. Select both of them, hold the shift key and select. Now copy, go to home, copy, select the report footer and paste. Perfect. Now we need to move this guy here. We can move this a little bit here. So we need to move this a little bit down. Now we need to change the label, and that would be total. Total. And then the next one is we have to remove the color from the report header. So right click and then go to the fill and then select white. Now we need to add a title. So go to the report, design tab, click on title. Title. And then we're gonna say discount report for workshop cost. Now click the title again and then go to format tab and then click the boldface and then we need the center. Now we have to view our report. So far, that's what you have done. Perfect. See the total at the end. Now the next is we have to close the preview. So if you want to go to preview, that's the preview, and then you can close it from here. Obtaining help on functions. So the next one is page setup tab. So in this case, we can go back to view and design, and then if you click on the page setup tab, which is in the right of the format, and then this is the margin button, size, and then the portrait, all right? And then if you click on the margin, and then we have already selected narrow, right? Now the next thing is if you click on page setup, and then you click on columns, and then here it says perfect, same as detail, and then okay, just you can modify if you want to. Now the next, if you click the page setup, you can also pull up the same thing. If you go the page, now under the page, you can change from portrait to landscape, and then you can set the layer, right? And then you can also view the printing options, right? So you can change from the top margin if you want to change it. So if you go to the margin, be sure it's narrow, okay? Now, the next thing, if you don't want anything from here, you can just close it, the space, like this. Now, if I go back to the report, view, the report look perfect. All right. Now we have to save, and then we have to close the report. And with that, it ends my lecture, the video regarding advanced report techniques. All right. I hope that you have learned a lot from this video, and be sure that you subscribe the channel, like my channel, so that I can create more productive videos regarding programming, regarding applications. So be sure to share the video with your family, with your friends, and keep on practicing. And the three files that I used in this video is gonna be attached to the video description. Below the video description, you will see all the three file is attached there. You can download and then you can follow my video. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.